Hey everybody, welcome to week 15 of English 145. We're almost at the end here, so we're kind of starting to wrap things up. I have a few things that I kind of want to go over today. The first thing is just a reminder that the proposal is due on Tuesday, April 20th at midnight. And if you haven't watched my other videos, I talk more in previous videos about the proposal, some tips and tricks, so I'm not going to reiterate that again. So if you want to know information, just kind of go a couple videos back and you can find out that information. But it's also in the prompt. And again, as always, email me with any questions or concerns that you have about the proposal, what should be in it, things like that. So that's in the prompt again as well. And so the turnaround time for those, I'm going to try to get them done as soon as possible whenever you turn them in, so that I can either approve them or not approve them or give you any suggestions. Because that's basically the point, right? Is the approving and the not approving is not like, oh, I don't like your topic. But I just want to make sure that it's focused on writing and communicating within your field, and that it's specific enough to be answered in 2,500 to 3,000 words, but not too broad that it could be answered in a book length research project, right? Or it's not something that could be, it's so short and too narrow that it could be answered in like a page. So I'm trying to help you kind of like navigate that part of it. So that's more so I'm just trying to give you advice so that you don't do this whole project that's worth a lot of points and then it kind of fall short of the scope of the project, right? Or the expectations. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. And then going on to Thursday, the things that you need to have done for that. In the Google Doc, you'll see we're going to do CBAP for, that should say Unit 3. I'm going to change that here in a second. I see a typo. For Unit 3, obviously, because that's the unit we're in. And we're going to do, again, what do you value? And I kind of try to highlight it this time within the Google Doc and say like, hey, it's not just about how do you want to break these points down between the wiki article and the uptake submission notes, but what do you value in this assignment? What am I, as the assessor, what do you want me to look for that you've done? Do you find that the most important part of this project is that it focuses on a specific enough research question that's within writing communication within your field? And you think that's the most important part of this project, I'm going to list that first. Then articulate that, write that. If you go back and you look at our first Google Doc, CBAP, it has, that bullet pointed list. And so I've kind of suggested again that because you're going into the forums on ReggieNet, explaining what you added to the Google Doc, you don't have to have like your own section on the Google Doc itself, right? So what you need to do is then just add to it. Say, okay, I'm going to put this thing on the bullet pointed list. I'm going to put this thing on the bullet pointed list. I'm going to make this comment. I'm going to make this suggestion. I'm going to, you can hear my dog. I'm going to kind of work on these things to kind of say, okay, this is what I want to do. And you're working on this collaboratively, right? So it's not just like a space for all of you to like put your point suggestions, right? But you're working on creating a list cohesively together. And then in the forum, that's where you can kind of describe, hey, this is what I changed on the Google Doc. Here's what I've added. Here's what I've not changed because I agree with it, whatever the case may be, right? But you're putting that explanation in the forums, and that's where I can see where you've see where you've done the work, right? But in the Google Doc itself, it should look like a collaborative effort that you've all worked on together to create one bullet pointed list for the wiki and then one bullet pointed list for the uptake submission notes. If you want to keep it the same bullet pointed list as the last two units, do that. If you want to make any modifications or anything like that, do so, right? Okay, hopefully that's kind of clear. Gosh, every time I like sit down at this computer to talk, my dog is just like, are we gonna play? Is that what's happening? No, Clover, we're not playing right now. All right, so before I get into the next part that I want to talk about, we got our bonus question of the week. So my bonus question, I was trying to think of what I wanted to ask this week, and I think I just want to do a good old show and tell. Show me an object that you have near you while you're like working in your working space. And just show me a picture of it and tell me why you like it or why you chose that specific item. So I am going to show you today my keyboard. So it sounds fascinating, so this is my keyboard. And so as you can see, it is typewriter keys. And so it sounds like a typewriter. I also own a regular, like a real typewriter, but obviously it doesn't connect digitally. So this has that same feel to it. Makes me feel like I'm doing something really interesting and I'm writing something very important when I write on this keyboard. And it's pink and cute and wonderful. So this is my object, my show and tell object of something within my workspace area that I really enjoy. So show me something in your workspace area that you really enjoyed. All right, so then the next part that we'll kind of talk about is, you can see that last part is talking about participation. So if you've looked at the syllabus, things like that, 100 points of this class goes towards participation. So what does participation look like in an online asynchronous class? That is not a rhetorical question. That is a question I'm asking you. So again, we've talked in these videos, or we've talked privately, or I've, written things in prompts and whatnot about, like, how do you engage with this class? How do you participate well? Like, for example, when I talk about, discussing in the forums, I talk about, specific ways to kind of do that. I talk about why we're doing, these kinds of responses in the forums and things like that. And that's just one example of the many ways that you can participate in this class. Participation means communication with your peers, means communication with me. I mean, however you want to kind of frame it. And I want you to do a self-analysis, of yourself, a self-evaluation, and say, this is what I think I deserve out of 100 points. You can say point-wise, if you want to say like 95 out of 100, or if you just want to say, I want an A, or I think I deserve an A, you can write that. And then just kind of then describe and sell me on your pitch, right? Say, okay, I think I deserve an A for participation, and here's why. Give me some examples, use those rhetorical skills that we've kind of been working on in this class, and describe why you think that you deserve that grade. I don't want to give too many examples and things like that, because I want you to do that work. I want you to say, this is what participation looks like in an online asynchronous class, and here's how I did it, or didn't do it, or whatever the case may be. Watching these videos right now, you're doing participation, right? Again, freebie there. But yeah, so hopefully that makes sense. If it does not, email me. And then I will take that, whatever grade that you say, into consideration when I am assessing your participation in this class. And I'll either say, yep, I agree with your analysis. Here's the grade that you said that you wanted, and you got it, right? Or if occasionally, usually people are pretty accurate when, describing their own participation. But if there is some sort of big disconnect, and I don't agree, whether I think, you've done more participation than you've said, if you're like, oh, I deserve a C, and I'm like, what? You did great for these reasons. I'll say, no, I think you deserve this grade, and I'll tell you why. Or if you give yourself a really, really high grade and I don't really agree with the things that you've kind of brought forth, then I'll say, well, I take that into consideration, but based off of that, and here's some things that I think that you didn't really bring up that I think, go into your participation, and that seems to be this disconnect, and I'll say, I don't disagree, and here's the grade I think you want. But as always with any, grade that you get in this class, I'm happy to talk with you about those grades. I'm pretty flexible, and so, use those rhetorical skills, right? So, but again, usually everybody is pretty accurate when they do their self-evaluations. And the other thing I want to remind everyone again is that your drafts for peer review are due on Sunday, April 25th. So that is this next Sunday at midnight. If you do not turn in your draft, you do not get a partner. That's kind of the gist. So making sure that you're turning in those drafts on Sunday night so that I can assign you a partner to then do the peer review for your partner by Tuesday at midnight. Okay. Hopefully that works for you. Just looking over here at my weekly agenda. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it that I needed to kind of talk with you guys about. This is another kind of shorter video this week, but as we're kind of wrapping things up, you're just kind of working on your major projects, you're working on your proposals, we're going to wrap up participation and things like that. As far as assessing the last couple weeks of the student-led discussions, I will get to those as soon as I can. But whether or not I'm finished with those before you turn your proposals in, I will grade those before everything else, because I want to make sure that you know whether or not you can move forward with this topic, or if I have suggestions to change the topic or anything like that, as soon as possible. So I will try to get those to you ASAP. All right. I think that is it. So have a good rest of your week 15. Almost done with this class, and hopefully, I heard reports it's supposed to snow this week in Bloomington Normal if you were here in the area. So hopefully that doesn't happen. I really don't want that to happen. So let's all cross our fingers that no snow. But anyway, enjoy your week. Talk to you later. Have a good one.